Alzheimer's researchers discovered something terrifying. Certain healthy foods recommended by doctors are actually accelerating brain shrinkage in seniors. The Hash-1 memory destroyer, it's marketed as brain food, yet does the exact opposite. Your brain at age 60 isn't the same brain you had at 30. That's just biology. But here's what most people don't realize. What you eat today is literally reshaping your brain for tomorrow. Not in some mystical way, but in measurable scientific ways that researchers can actually see on brain scans. Every bite you take sends chemical signals throughout your body. Some of these signals tell your brain to stay sharp and healthy. Others, well, they're basically sending your brain cells a memo that says time to retire early. The difference between these two outcomes often comes down to whether you're eating foods that fight inflammation or foods that fuel it. Inflammation is your body's natural response to injury or infection. When you cut your finger, inflammation helps it heal. But when inflammation becomes chronic, meaning it never really turns off, it starts attacking healthy tissue, including brain tissue. And the weird part is, certain foods act like tiny matches, constantly lighting little fires of inflammation throughout your body, including in the delicate networks of your brain. Scientists have been studying this connection for decades now. What they've found is pretty remarkable. People who follow eating patterns like the MIND diet or Mediterranean diet show significantly slower rates of memory decline as they age. We're talking about measurable differences in cognitive tests, brain volume, and even dementia risk. The MIND diet isn't some trendy eating plan cooked up by a celebrity chef. It stands for Mediterranean-Intervention for Neurodegenerative Delay, and it was developed specifically by researchers studying brain aging. People who stick closest to this eating pattern have brains that function like they're 7.5 years younger than their actual age. That's not a typo. 7.5 years younger. But here's where it gets interesting. The protective power of these diets isn't just about what you eat, it's also about what you don't eat. Researchers have identified specific foods that seem to accelerate brain aging, particularly after age 60, when our brains become more vulnerable to damage. These brain-damaging foods work through several pathways. Some directly harm brain cells through toxic compounds, others damage the blood vessels that supply your brain with oxygen and nutrients. Still others mess with your blood sugar levels in ways that stress your brain's delicate chemistry. Then there's the inflammation factor we mentioned earlier. Certain foods are like adding gasoline to a fire when it comes to brain inflammation. They don't just fail to protect your brain, they actively work against it, creating an internal environment where memory problems and cognitive decline become more likely. The good news? Your brain has an amazing ability to repair and protect itself when you give it the right tools. Even if you've spent decades eating foods that weren't doing your brain any favors, making changes now can still make a real difference in how your mind ages. Makes sense, right? But which specific foods are we talking about? The answer might surprise you, starting with something sweet that's probably sitting in your kitchen right now. Your brain weighs about 3 pounds, but it gulps down nearly 20% of all the sugar in your bloodstream. That sweet tooth you've had since childhood? Well, it might be slowly reshaping your brain in ways you never expected. Studies tracking thousands of people over decades reveal something shocking. Adults who regularly drink sugary sodas show measurably smaller brain volumes on MRI scans. The hippocampus, your brain's memory headquarters, literally shrinks when bombarded with excess sugar year after year. We're talking about real physical changes you can see on brain imaging. But here's where it gets interesting. That daily can of Coke doesn't just sit harmlessly in your stomach. Within minutes, it sends your blood sugar skyrocketing higher than your brain cells can handle comfortably. Think of it like revving a car engine in the red zone. Do it repeatedly, and something's going to break down. The breakdown happens through inflammation. Your brain has its own immune system, and when sugar levels spike repeatedly, these immune cells go haywire. They start attacking healthy brain tissue like confused security guards. This isn't the helpful inflammation that heals a cut on your finger. This is chronic, low-grade inflammation that eats away at the connections between your neurons. Let's talk numbers that might surprise you. People over 60 who drink just one sugary beverage daily score significantly lower on memory tests compared to those who avoid them. That's not correlation. Researchers followed these folks for years, watching their cognitive abilities decline in real time. And the weird part is how sneaky sugar can be. That innocent-looking blueberry muffin at your local coffee shop, it often contains more sugar than a candy bar. Your morning orange juice delivers a sugar punch equivalent to eating 4 whole oranges, minus the fiber that would normally slow absorption. Nearly 40% of older adults consume more added sugar than health experts recommend. Most don't realize they're doing it because sugar hides under dozens of different names on ingredient lists. High fructose corn syrup, dextrose, maltose, they're all sugar-wearing disguises. Then there's the dessert dilemma. Research following thousands of seniors found that those eating sweets multiple times per week showed a 65% higher risk of developing dementia compared to occasional treat eaters. Your brain remembers every sugar surge, and not in a good way. What makes this particularly cruel is how sugar affects the very brain regions responsible for decision-making and impulse control. The more sugar you eat, the harder it becomes to resist eating more sugar. It's like your brain's willpower muscle gets weaker with each sweet assault. The damage accumulates silently over years. You won't notice your memory slipping after one piece of cake, but your brain cells are keeping score. They're dealing with oxidative stress, inflammation, and energy crashes that leave them struggling to function optimally. But sugar isn't the only villain quietly sabotaging your cognitive future. Another group of seemingly innocent foods, ones you probably eat every single day, might be flooding your system with sugar even faster than that candy bar. You know how your grandma always said white bread was the devil? Turns out she might have been onto something, just not for the reasons she thought. White bread, white rice, and those fluffy dinner rolls aren't just empty calories, they're actually staging a sneak attack on your brain. Here's what happens when you bite into that bagel. Within minutes, it breaks down faster than a cheap umbrella in a storm. All those refined grains flood your bloodstream with sugar quicker than you can say carbohydrate. Your blood sugar shoots up like a rocket, and your brain cells, well, they're not exactly throwing a party about it. The scary part is how sneaky this process really is. You don't feel your brain cells getting stressed out from those sugar spikes. But researchers tracking older adults for years found something alarming. People eating lots of refined grains showed faster drops in memory and thinking skills compared to those who avoided the white stuff. Let's not forget what gets stripped away when grains get refined. The fiber disappears completely. Gone are the B vitamins your brain desperately needs to function properly. What you're left with is basically edible cardboard that your body treats like pure sugar. Makes sense why your energy crashes an hour after eating that muffin, right? Then there's the inflammation problem. Every time your blood sugar spikes from refined grains, it triggers inflammatory chemicals throughout your body. Your brain, being the sensitive organ it is, bears the brunt of this damage. Think of it like tiny fires starting in your brain tissue, and refined grains are basically throwing gasoline on those flames. But wait, it gets worse. Most breakfast pastries fall squarely in this danger zone. Those innocent-looking croissants, Danish pastries, and even healthy granola bars often pack more refined flour than a bakery. Crackers too, especially the ones marketed as wholesome snacks. Reading labels becomes crucial because food companies have gotten creative at hiding refined grains behind fancy names. The weird part is how normalized this has become. Walk through any grocery store and refined grain products dominate entire aisles. We've been conditioned to think white rice is just as good as brown, that enriched flour somehow equals nutrition. Your brain knows better even if your taste buds disagree. And the blood vessel damage, that's where things get really concerning for older adults. Those repeated sugar spikes don't just stress brain cells directly, they also damage the tiny blood vessels that deliver oxygen and nutrients to your brain. Over time, this creates a double whammy, stressed brain cells getting less of what they need to stay healthy. Research following people in their 60s and 70s found that those eating the most refined grains had measurably faster cognitive decline over just a few years. We're talking about real memory problems developing faster in people who thought they were just enjoying normal foods. Of course, refined grains aren't the only culprits lurking in your kitchen. Some foods are even more aggressive at attacking your brain's health, particularly ones that seem harmless but pack hidden dangers. Most people never consider your brain didn't evolve to handle the modern fast food assault. That crispy chicken sandwich might taste amazing, but it's essentially a memory-erasing machine disguised as lunch. Here's what happens when you bite into that golden brown perfection. The trans fats, those artificially hardened oils that make everything taste incredible, slip right through your blood-brain barrier. Once inside, they act like tiny wrecking balls, damaging the delicate connections between brain cells. Scientists have tracked people who eat fried foods regularly, and their thinking skills decline faster than a dropped phone screen. Fast food isn't just about the frying though. Those convenient meals pack a triple threat against your aging brain. Saturated fats clog up the small blood vessels that feed your neurons. High sodium levels spike your blood pressure, putting extra stress on brain tissue. And the processed ingredients create inflammation that spreads through your entire nervous system like wildfire. But here's where it gets really sneaky. Processed meats, your deli turkey, ham, bacon, and sausages contain preservatives called nitrates. Your body converts these into compounds that can cross into brain tissue and mess with cellular function. One study followed older adults for 8 years and found those eating the most processed meats showed memory decline equivalent to aging an extra 2 years. Then there's the cheese factor. Not all cheese, mind you, but the heavily processed stuff found in fast food. It's loaded with saturated fat and often contains additives that promote inflammation. Your brain needs healthy fats to function, but these damaged fats are like putting sugar in a gas tank. The real villain hiding in fried foods goes by the name AGEs, Advanced Glycation End Products. Catchy name, right? These form when proteins and sugars get cooked at high temperatures, especially during frying. AGEs literally age your brain cells faster by causing oxidative stress and inflammation. French fries are basically AG bombs waiting to explode in your neural networks. What's truly fascinating is how quickly this damage accumulates. Researchers tracked cognitive function in people eating fast food 3 times per week versus those avoiding it. Within just 2 years, the fast food group showed measurable declines in memory formation and problem-solving abilities. Your blood vessels pay the price too. Those crispy golden foods damage the endothelial lining of arteries, including the ones feeding your brain. Less blood flow means fewer nutrients reaching your neurons. It's like trying to water a garden through a kinked hose. Even moderate consumption adds up over time. That weekly fish and chips tradition or monthly burger run might seem harmless, but your brain keeps score. The inflammation from processed foods doesn't just disappear after digestion, it lingers, creating a chronic low-grade assault on your cognitive reserves. The convenience of grabbing something quick comes with a hidden cost your future self will pay. While you're satisfying today's cravings, you're potentially trading tomorrow's mental sharpness. Speaking of things we consume regularly without thinking twice, let's examine 2 staples that might surprise you with their brain-damaging potential. Your grandmother probably served pot roast every Sunday. Your grandfather likely had his evening beer or glass of wine. These seem like harmless traditions, right? Well, here's what researchers discovered when they tracked thousands of seniors for decades. Red meat lovers who ate beef, pork, or lamb more than 4 times per week showed measurable brain shrinkage compared to those who ate it twice weekly or less. The difference wasn't small either. We're talking about losing brain tissue equivalent to 2 extra years of aging. That Sunday roast might be costing you more than you think. But why does red meat mess with your mind? The culprit is saturated fat, which makes up about 40% of the fat in a typical steak. This fat damages myelin, the protective white coating around your brain cells. Think of myelin like insulation on electrical wires. When it breaks down, your brain's signals get fuzzy, messages between neurons slow down, and memory formation becomes sluggish. Then there's the iron factor most people miss. Red meat contains heme iron, which your body absorbs whether it needs it or not. Too much iron in brain tissue creates rust-like damage through oxidation. Your brain literally starts corroding from the inside out. Let's not forget alcohol's sneaky assault on your aging brain. Even moderate drinkers, those having 1 drink daily, show brain tissue loss over time. Heavy drinkers, their brains shrink faster than a deflating balloon at a kid's party gone wrong. The weird part is how alcohol fools people. Small amounts might make you feel sharper in the moment, but brain scans tell a different story. Alcohol shrinks the hippocampus, your memory headquarters, while also damaging the prefrontal cortex where decision-making happens. After age 60, your brain becomes less efficient at processing alcohol, so the same drink that barely affected you at 40 hits much harder at 70. Makes sense why heavy drinkers over 60 lose their thinking skills twice as fast as non-drinkers, right? Here's the kicker though. You don't have to give up protein or socializing entirely. Studies show people who swapped red meat for fish twice weekly had better memory scores 5 years later. Salmon, sardines, and mackerel provide brain-boosting omega-3 fats instead of brain-damaging saturated ones. And the weird part is beans work even better than fish in some studies. Black beans, lentils, and chickpeas give you protein without the baggage. They're loaded with folate and fiber, which actually protect your brain cells. As for alcohol, the research is pretty clear. Less is more after 60. Those evening cocktails might feel relaxing, but they're quietly stealing your sharpness. Want to know what happens when you combine these bad food choices with the ones we've already covered? The brain damage multiplies in ways that might shock you. Your memory doesn't just fade, it can completely collapse.